Back at it again, huh? Let me show you what we got. The frame inside moves around pretty well. Check this out. It just moves around. That's that table I was telling you about. My oldest boy Cody was over last weekend, helped me get her off the jack stands and set her on here, and I can just move it around at will. There's nothing to it. So that's kind of handy. What we got here is a mess. If you look really close at this rubber stuff, oh, it's an old knife I found stuck down in here. Might use that in the kitchen to get her cleaned up. If you look really close at this, I kept wondering why anybody would put any kind of, you know, it just looked like sealer. Finally I realized all that is the original trunk mat. The rubber trunk mat's deteriorated, and you know, of course, told you got this problem. So all that needs fixed, and I went ahead and got tail pan, 10 inches of the back trunk panel. You know, by the time I clean all this stuff up, there's rust on through here, and clean all this up, see where we're at. I might get a trunk pan. You know, they're gonna add $800 anyway just for that whole trunk panel. Not that I'd use it all, but I'll go ahead and get all this cleaned up best I can. I'll use a little propane torch and make it easier on myself. I don't know. I'll probably be at it all night, so we'll probably see tomorrow and see where we're at. I don't know about the spare tire well. I do like it, but I don't know. We'll see. See you guys in a bit. Alright, so it's the next weekend. I did spend some time scraping. I know the lighting's really bad, but you know, there's just not much left of this floor. Of course, I get ahead of myself and I just try to order parts so that they're ready to go, you know. And by the time I bought a couple pieces here, which are right over there, and I'm stuck with those. Anyway, of course, there's the old tail pan. Here's the brace that goes under the floor, and I thought, well, if that's rotted out, I'll patch it or make a new one, but no, probably not going to happen. So I guess I could have returned the other parts, spent a whole bunch of shipping and waited forever for a whole complete floorboard. Thought, well, I'll just buy the rest of the pieces. Here's what that brace looks like. I guess I could have made that, but probably not. For what it cost to buy one, it's not worth me spending the next 2 years trying to make that, or that, or that, or that. Got a new bracket. There's my old one. It's the bottom half of it's gone, so I'd have had to make a new one of these. 40 bucks. Screw it. There's the left side, center, no right side. I might get it. I think it's going to get shipped the 27th of this month. I think today's the 5th. Supply and demand, and supply issues and coronavirus and all that. I got plenty of these. Nobody has that, because I think it's because, you know, most decent cars just rust out on this side and they patch it. It's totally possible, and I'm considering going ahead and fixing this side. It's not too bad. Of course, that new panel is going to come up to here. Then I've just got the corner to fix, which isn't horrible, but you know, you got a little bit up there. I think water came in from around the back glass, and there was no weather strip here, so it sat in Indiana. Just water, every time it rained, water got leached underneath that old rubber mat. You know, well, I guess my plan is I'm going to cut here, probably cut some of that back, take some really good measurements before I pull each piece out so that I know where everything needs to be. By the time I fix this drop down, it'll be all clean and I won't see witness marks where all this stuff's supposed to go. The main thing is, you know, right here it's not as seriously important. I want it to be square and flat, but I need it to match up to where the frame needs to be, where the holes for the frame are, and the tail panel. That's pretty important. So I'm going to measure my holes. There's one right there. That's for the mounting on the frame. So that has to pretty much be right where it needs to be. That, or I'm taking the body, putting it back on the frame so I know where it's going to go. Screw that. I'll come up with some kind of geometrical method. Maybe some trigonometry-ish stuff. I don't know. I've got to fix that. Actually, I'm cutting these out and flattening them over where the shocks go in. So once I get all this cut out, heck with it, I might even just cut that out. It's going to take me so much time to fix all this, to build these corners where they're rotted out. You know, I've got to fix this. Yeah, you know. Time I get all this prepped and everything fixed, I'll have my other piece. That's going to take me, it's, you know, it's the slow repair process I have going on. So anyway, I'll turn you guys back on when I get this all cut out and kind of see what it looks like. I've already got a mess. There's some of that rubber mat, a big old pile of goo. So I got to clean all this up, get all this cut out, and then I can just roll my happy self inside there on my little chair and fix all that, clean all that up, start repairing the drop downs for the trunk and the wheel wells. Thought about doing a mini tub while I was at it, but you know, nah, probably not. See you guys in a bit. Well, that escalated quickly. Got it all cut out. It, you know, pretty rough. So this is the flange that should be on the car that the corner of the trunk floor goes to. So I'll be building these pieces. I did get my measurements before I took it apart for where my bolt holes are for the body mounts. So got the new brace kind of mocked up here. Let me get the tail pan out of here. And this, of course, the trunk floor goes on top of it. So I'll pre-drill my holes, get it all lined up, flip it upside down, spot weld it, make that as one unit. And of course, once I do my cleanup here to this flange, where the bottom of the floor gets spot welded to the trunk side walls. Of course, I got to fix all this, fix a lot of that stuff. I also found another problem where somebody had put a piece of big old angle iron in here because they blew out the shock mount. It's cracked all the way from here to here. So I mean, it's all the way down here. That's okay. We got to fix this anyway, so I'm going to cut these out on the other side. I'm just gonna 18 gauge sheet metal right over top of them, get it all welded up, make it solid and nice. Of course, get all the rest of this stuff cleaned up. Gosh, I'm so tired of this. I'll get the torch back out. It's the only way to get it off, really, is to warm it up, scrape it off. There's the original color. I'm thinking of going with that. Don't know, we'll see. Anyhow, lots of more grunt work. At least I can sit in my little mechanic's chair and sit here at you know, at my leisure and chip away at this. Yeah, lots of stuff to fix. And there's the corner that's gone. Of course, I'll be making a piece all the way probably up to here. We'll see. Anyway, we'll get it all cleaned up. I'm gonna get my shock towers fixed first, work my way back, get everything cleaned up, put the floor partially together enough that I can see where I need to go here, and attach A to B since it's not there anymore. Well, alrighty. We'll talk to you later. Yep, we got holage. Pretty carnage too. Now these have, at least this is supposed to look like this, hole for your shock, and there's a reinforcement on the bottom side of it. Great. This one they blew out. They probably had air shocks on it or something and just blew it right through. It's cracked from here all the way down, going down to about here, which you can see the spot welds to that brace that's underneath, and it's just mangled underneath there. This part of the trunk floor is pushed down, so I don't know, I imagine they just beat it down, put this big piece of angle iron in it, and did a bang up job of welding her in on 3 sides. So you can see, if you look, it's all cracked up front here too. So as that shock's going up and down, it's just been cracked it right there. Comes around, cracks down through here, all the way through here. So now I'm not using these. I'm putting the bar across between the frame rails, and the shocks will be mounted to the frame. It's another great design this way, so we're going to go that route. So I'm going to delete these. I'll leave this one for now, factory, so that I can make my piece on this. It's nice, and you know, I can make my curves and probably make it out of some 16 really good strong stuff, 16 gauge steel. But this one, can't do anything with it. I'm just going to cut it out. I'll cut it all the way out. I'm going to leave this. Of course, I'm going to cut it down below where that bracket is. Just cut it all the way out, all the way up the front, so I can fix. I got some stuff, some stress cracking going up front there too. So just cut that thing out. We'll get that fixed, cleaned up, ready to go. Make a piece over that you know, reasonable facsimile of this curvature. Cut and butt, weld it all in. Make another one. Cut this one out the exact same way. Then you'll just have a clean channel through here. I think that's the way to go. But I'm gonna cut this out and we'll see what it looks like. All right. Well. See the carnage a little closer. And again, I don't think that's so much as, now rust might have started, but that's a stress crack. And of course water got in behind, and all they did was they welded it to this outer sheet metal, which is on top, and really it still had no strength. So it just walked back and forth, welded on 3 sides. Looks like my kind of welding, really. So, you know, it is what it is. But I've got it cleaned up. Had some rust issues here, so I went ahead and cut it out just a little extra. So probably what we'll do is butt weld everything on the sides, the front, around through here. But then this is double layered anyway. I'll make a flange, some spot welds. We'll you know, soaker with some real thinned out pour 15 to get up inside there, and we'll you know, get her all sealed up. This one won't be so bad. I just go down to the bottom, maybe a little bit of a flange going right here, but we'll cut this out and do the same thing over here. But again, we'll use this as a nice flat contour to know. I've already kind of pushed this back up a little bit, probably needs a little bit more, you know, and we'll get them solid. We'll probably use some 16 gauge steel, and heck, I don't know, maybe flange weld both sides of them. They give it really good some good strength, but we'll see how that goes. It'll be solid when I'm done. Man, wire brushed this, heated it up, scraped it, wire brushed it, scraped it. Probably soak it with some acetone, see if I can't get the rest of it, the residue, to come off. Still have all this good old trim adhesive. This had carpet, wall-to-wall carpeting. That really helped out the rust issues. I've seen a lot of these Tri-5s will rust at the trunk brackets, the support brackets, and these, it's good and solid. There's nothing wrong. You know, up there we're good, except for where it was compromised here. Everything else is okay. I'm gonna start cleaning up some more, maybe start getting this flange off and see where I'm at steel wise, what I'm gonna need to do around through here. You know, there's a lot to do yet. Grunt work, yay. Alright, well, don't quite remember where I left off. I think there was still a hole here. Shock mount. If you remember, it was all crusted and cracked, and we got her welded up pretty good and solid. This back part, I'm probably going to just lop it off and kind of start over and fix that from the inside of the car there. That was a pretty good gap to fill up. I had trouble finding gas at my local gasketing place, and I started out using rosin core, and I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I don't want to weld with rosin core unless it's great big heavy steel and I'm outside and don't have a choice. That's where I overcut there just a little bit. There was the big gap. There's what the gap looked like. You can see my fingers there, pretty big gap. Welded her right up. And we'll grind that down. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Then we'll cap that one off. We're going to do a little bit different. There's a brace under there. So I'm going to drill those spot welds, get the brace out of it, cut that out, flatten it off, and you know, time I get underneath the car and redo it, spot weld it, and clean it up, do a little body work, paint it, you'll never know that was there. Well, at least for the most part, from both sides. So that's kind of the plan. All right? All right. Get back with you. Well, get her all cleaned up, touched up, ground down. Jumped ahead and went ahead and did this piece. You can kind of see where the square was, and all I've got to do now is I'm going to get inside the car and do this drop down section that's on this side, kind of cut this one off and redo it. I really don't like the drop off that corner right there. I'm not really into that, but yeah, if it was like that, it's probably not a big deal. But if I'm going to be in there crawling around like a ding dong anyway, let's go ahead and fix it. So we'll get that done, then we'll work on all this. Not a lot to go by. We'll get her though. Alright, so got a little bit done here, and this is the inner fender well. It was gone, it was routed out down through here. All I did, cut the rotted out piece, flattened her out on the concrete with my boot, put it on a flat piece of sheet metal, traced it out, cut it out, bent it over my leg, just kept working it around, and it's pretty much, good thing is it's pretty much straight, you know, other than this kind of curvature here. But I wanted to show you guys something. I did another little patch right here, and if I can remember the way it went, I believe it was something like that. And you know, a little spot weld right there in the middle of it. So did the same thing, cut it out, fit it, had a little bit of a bend right here. Now I've got it welded in. Hopefully you can see how rough that is. Here, let me try and zoom you in. You kind of see how rough that is. But what I wanted to show you guys is my favorite way of cutting welds down. You see that? That is 5 cutoff wheels. And then depending on your arbor that you're using, there's a shank in there that keeps the cutoff wheel, you know, in place. And this one's long enough for 5 of them. Screwed on there, and man, that thing will eat some welds. I'm gonna show you real quick. Get my camera all grittied up and all that, but you know, maybe it'll be cool. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. So I'm gonna put on my gloves. You always want your safety in mind. I've had enough of these wheels blow up on me, and one about cut my head off. That's another story. Hearing protection. Now I'm just going to talk louder because I can't hear myself. So check out how fast I do this.
Yeah, sorry about the fan noise. There in the first week of April.
It's colder than snot outside. I got the barn heater going. Use some fans to blow it all around so old junk box don't freeze his nuggets off. So anyhow, there's an interesting little piece. Let's see, how'd it go? Right there. And that just reminds me, I've got to drill a spot weld hole right there. Well, anyhow, pretty basic. Put it right on the ground. After, of course, I stomped it flat with my foot, flat as I could. I used a hammer, or sockets, and anything that was rounded shaped, and pretty much got my little continued thingies here. This one's a little smaller than this one, but I just kept going at it. So I got her in there. Now the fun part is getting in there and grinding it smooth as I can. And I'd thought about going ahead and just splitting this and overlapping it, cutting it and welding it, and then kind of doing the same thing but higher. But then it wouldn't look the same as the other side, which the other side is not exactly the same, but it pretty much the ribs go down to where the trunk floor is, so it should be just about right there. You know, hell won't be perfect, but and really, if you guys want me to put detail into this kind of thing, I mean, I don't have a problem with it as long as enough of you's willing to and wanting to learn how a hillbilly does this kind of stuff. But basically that's it. Pretty sure my 4-year-old could do this if she had a long enough attention span, and I have trouble with that. Anyhow, this video is going to start getting a little long in the tooth, so let me get this cleaned up, and I'll get the back portion of the trunk sit in here because I still have to fill in the gaps here, and we'll kind of call it a video then. Maybe, we'll see. Well, got a bit of a mess going on. What I've got going on is I'm trying to get this back panel of the trunk floor in the correct spot. Those holes go into the frame rails, and it's pretty important that they belong in the correct place. So I have a measuring tool. It's supposed to be 3 inches from that hole to this bar. Okay, then from this surface here to this angle iron, positioned properly on the tail fins all the way across, should be 22 inches. Right now I'm about 22 1/4. It could be because when I measured it, everything was crushed up because this was all rotten. So I'm not too worried about a 1/4 inch. I like to get it closer to 22. What I'm trying to avoid is putting the body back on the frame so I can make sure this is in the right place. Probably the best way to do it, but I'm pretty lazy. So what I'm going to do is, I know that from the mount where that trunk piece goes to that mount right there is about 52 inches. So I can triangulate and measure and know what it's supposed to be on here, but it's a little hard to measure it from here. I'd have to go through from here, through that hole in the back, down to the bolt that's going through. Now, can't measure from underneath because I have my apparatus mounted. So, and those aren't exactly, you know, perfect the same. So measuring from that's not real conclusive either. So what I'm going to do is use my measuring stick, just a piece of steel rod. I'm going to make a tram gauge real quick so that I can get in there and measure like I want to adjust it. And so I'll show you what I come up with. Well, homemade tram gauge. This is just stuff I had laying around. Just cobbled up, drilled a hole, found a bolt and a nut that worked, and drilled the hole so the bolt went through. Found some wing nuts, and this is the same on both ends. You can flip it around, make it shorter and all that. I was going to use some more of this steel rod to go down here, but what I wanted was something that would measure a little bitty hole or center down into a big one. And the only thing about this rod is it's flexible, so you got to kind of let it lay over here the same as I lay it over here, if that makes any sense. Probably once I get done with this, because I'll use this on the frame. I got some frame mods I'm going to do and all that, so it's going to be a useful, handy tool. I'll probably take a long piece of this flat stock and weld it to the bottom of that rod to stiffen it up. I probably could do it now, and I might. Anyhow, there you go. Took me about 20 minutes to slop that together, and I've got a homemade tram gauge. Now that I know that this is pretty much where it is, I'm going to double check my height again. I need to find a way to mark it or use Tech screws, one in the front, one in the back, to the good metal so it always goes back to the same place. Because I'm going to have this out 3 or 4 or 5, 1,800 times. It's hard to say, but mostly it's because of that. And I knew I'd be having to have this in the right place to build all that in the right place. So this is going to be quite the mess. We've got holes here to fix, and of course my new tail pan, it only goes to here, so you know, we got holes, more holage. So I've got to build all that up all the way around to there, right there. So that's the next fun part. You know, we'll see how far I get today, but I'll have to call it a video here pretty soon. Getting a little long in the tooth, ain't it? Well, there's that part. Oh, and the story on the floor. Got this piece, tail pan. Got this piece, that's the left side. There's the center section. I plan on reusing spare tire thing. Depends on the mods for the rear end. I'm going to do some stuff, so I might put that in after the fact. I've got to do some fixing on it, put it back in, maybe modify it or block it off if I have to. We'll see how that goes. Anyhow, I've probably got 450 bucks in this piece, that piece, the structure that goes underneath it, and that piece. The piece on the right side should show up today. It's been 2 months on back order. As far as shipping goes, a lot of this was free ground shipping or 20 bucks here and there for each piece. And of course, by the time I went through it and couldn't get the back ordered piece for 2 months, I thought, well, I'll just order a whole floor. So I found a whole floor, which is no bracing, because I have the bracing. You know, 500, I don't know, just shy of 600 bucks. Thought, well, I'll bite the bullet. I'll just buy it. It'll save me some time, and I can probably maybe sell some of the stuff I don't use or use it for something else. I don't know. Problem is, $399 for shipping. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So I wasn't going to spend $1,200 more. You know, 500 more, maybe. 600 more, maybe. Not $1,000, $1,200. It's just crazy. And then they'd probably go on back order, and I'd be waiting 2 more months. So I'm just going to piece her together. Patches, right? As Robert said, patches. Probably a good name. All right. 2 holes, self-tappers, 2 on each side. I had it pinched in there with vice grips on both sides, had it leveled, had it right where I wanted it, as best I can get it. Now I can use my 2 holes. There's one right there. There's the other one. There's 2 on the other side. And I know from the bottom of the trunk, at least 2 inches up, is the piece of metal I'm going to have to make. So I figure that piece of metal will go from wherever I left off at, which I can overmake it 2 inches above here, all the way around, and it goes around in this little covey right here. So I'm probably going to just cut them out, cut them bigger, form them around so they fit pretty snug on here. Probably a couple tech screws, because I have spot welds. This spot weld will go into that, and then set it back in there. I'll cut the rusted metal out of the way and just kind of keep going in and out with it till I get it figured out. This bracing underneath is screwed on, and I'll show you that if I can do it with one hand. Right there. All my spot welds are all drilled out, ready to go. I got metal etching primer inside here. Not that I really needed it. It's got this coating on it, but so once I get all that fitted in where I know that's going to be and my pieces on there, then I'll go and weld this up as an assembly before I put it in. And then once we put it in, I'll probably screw it in, not have anything welded, and then start fitting my pieces in between. Kind of get it all mocked up and start welding. We'll see how far we get today, but I'm gonna call it a video today. Okay, maybe tonight. Yeah, tonight. Well, got a piece scabbed in this corner, piece scabbed in on that corner. I think that's as far as the repairs I'm going to go with. Don't know if I'll end up making all this. See, it's all the way through up here. I probably could. Seemed like I saw these sections. You can buy this whole section, which I don't need, just this part, and they're like $200 a piece. Or I'll look and see what I can find. I'm not gonna worry about it now. Basically got, you know, trunk placed. Everything's gonna work out as far as I need it to go that direction. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get under here and wire brush the heck out of everything. I'm gonna have repairs to do to the rear cowl there, so I'm not gonna paint nothing. Just go ahead and clean it while the trunk's out. Spot weld all my spot welds on this, get it screwed back in where it's ready to be spot welded, and then start setting my panels in here, getting them fitting and all that. But I think we're gonna leave that for the next video, you know. So dang, I'm ugly. Well, ladies and germs, thanks for watching, huh? We'll see you on the next one.